Hi guys, this is Klazartsc bringing another audio commentary, and this time I'm commenting on Game 2 of the OnGameNet Duel Tournament Group E, and this is Nada versus Yellow Yrnc, not to be mistaken for NC Yellow. And Yellow Yrnc is a pretty solid OGN Sparky Yrnc player who unfortunately has not really done well in the OSL or MSL this season. I don't even know if he played in them, to be honest, since I didn't really pay that much attention to the season. Nada we are all familiar with, the old Pantech X Warhorse, now playing for, and I suppose old is a very unfair statement to make. He's not really that old in the terms of number of years, but he's definitely been around the scene for quite some time. One of the all-time greats, one of the original all-time greats, the big Terran reigning champion for a long time after Boxer, and now hopefully going to emerge into some sort of resurgence. I felt sorry for Nada last couple of seasons because I don't think he's played badly. I think Nada has been a victim of being in a poor team. I think if Nada had been in a stronger team, I think he would have done better, but he's just in such a mediocre team that he might as well be playing for Team Air Force Ace. No offense intended. But this is another Terran vs Yrnc player, and I think Terran vs Yrnc is probably one of the matchups I enjoy the most, although I have to admit, the last game, despite Savior's godlike presence, was all just completely boring. It was crap. Because Kanata did not put up any fight, and he was just not a worthy opponent for someone of the class of Savior. And it just goes to show how good Savior is still playing, and it gave me a lot of heart to see Savior just stomp through Kanata with such ease. Hopefully we'll have a more even contest here between these two guys, between Nada and Yellow Yrnc, and I'm looking forward to seeing these two guys, and I'm really hoping that Nada can pull out something here. Again, the season before last, we saw a little bit of a resurgence of some of the older players, some of the more established veterans of the scene, and hopefully we will see something of the sort again this season. We'll see some of the greats like Nada and Urubi come back and maybe do well. Yellow Yrnc is another one of those players who's never really made it to the big time, who's hinted at greatness but never really just achieved it. And I think we have seen some epic matches in the past between these two. I think it was on Hitchhiker where Yrnc beat Nada in a great game. So I think this is a game that will bring probably the best out of both of these players. And I think the positions on the map are interesting as well. I think they favor probably Nada a little bit more than they favor Yellow Yrnc, depending on the strategy they go for. We saw last game Kanata going for a very turtle strategy and going for a bio strategy on this map. Nada, of course, is the king of bio. He's very good at bio. He was, again, one of the first players following in Boxer's stead to use that strategy very effectively. And Nada trying to wall off that choke, but that drone has gotten through. So an early drone sent out by Yellow Yrnc to scout out his base when his overlord didn't find anything scouting clockwise. He's actually managed to get that drone through. He's now actually going to see Nada fast expand, and this is going to give Yrnc the impetus to expand faster himself. He has put on his natural expansion. This again is being played on Katrina, where it is very easy for the Terran to fast expand. But I think where the Terran goes from here is the key, and I think Yrnc has put that spawning pool down after the hatches. So Yrnc, so very similar starting builds to what we saw in the previous game. Yellow walling off his choke and putting in the barracks, and now putting in the second barracks, I would guess, Nada doing that, and Yellow going for the 3 hatchery build. So very similar strategies to what we saw previous game. I think it's important that Nada push early on. That's something that Kanata didn't do last game. He didn't push early on, and that really cost him, in my opinion, the game. He just didn't pressurize Savior at all. And Nada, I think, if he was watching that game, would have learned from that, would have learned that you cannot just leave a Zerg to grow at will and do what they want. And I think we will see Nada pressuring. And Nada is someone who does like to pressure. He does like to play a very active game. I don't think Nada is going to turtle. And it'll be interesting how he decides to play this game, whether he decides to go for the dropship route or whether he decides to go for Medic and Marines and Science Vessels and try and control the map with that, which obviously again Kanata failed to do. And Nada again sending that SCV out, trying to scout out for Yrnc space now, try and see where he's positioned and see what tech he's getting up. Yrnc now putting up the extractor in his main, and I think with Nada, you can always count on him to produce his best, and he's going for the engineering base, so definitely we're going to see an early medic. Well, I suppose we might see a long-term bio strategy from Nada with that early engineering base going up. He might be planning for kind of a long-term medic and marine and science vessel strategy, which is similar to what we saw with Kanata. And it'll be interesting to see if he can go the exact same strategy as Kanata and but yet be more effective at it. That will be interesting to see. The other thing that will be interesting for me to see will be whether or not Yrnc or Yellow Yrnc will go for the sort of strategy we saw Savior going for, whether he's going to go for that early Spire, or whether he's going to rely perhaps a little bit more on Lurkers as well. Savior did not use Lurkers at all, and that was very interesting to see from Savior. Just no use of Lurkers whatsoever in that game. And now Nada's walled off his choke. He's got his 2 barracks pumping Marines. I think we will see from Nada probably an earlier Medic and Marine push than we saw from Kanata. However, Yrnc, and this is again, here you see the difference between a great Zerg player and a player who's not so great at Zerg. We already see that Sunken going down for Yrnc. I don't think Savior put down a Sunken so early, and that little extra time that Savior gives himself, he plays a very razor thin margin between defense and expanding early on in the game, which means that sometimes he is at risk of being caught off guard by a very good audacious Terran player, but at the same time he leaves himself more room to expand, and his economy progresses faster in the game. Layer up for Yrnc, and it'll be to see whether he puts the Spire down. Yrnc's got that 1 Sunken up, and he's got that Zergling scouting outside, so he should see that Medic and Marine group moving out. I think the map distance actually, conversely, I said it would help Nada. Actually, I was wrong about that, I have to admit. I think it's going to help Yellow here, because it's going to mean a longer distance for Nada to push with those ground forces, and Yellow really putting out those barracks. So Yellow definitely going for a barrack strategy. That seems to be the favorite Terran strategy on this map, and Nada already has 4 barracks, so he's putting up the 5th and 6th barracks, and he's now sending those Marines down. And I think it's crucial that Nada actually pushes and pressurizes a little bit, really forces Yellow to put some defense. And I think it's also crucial that Nada tries to get some sort of either a tank push going early on or an air superiority going early on. I don't think it's going to work to just try and play a bio game and just try and contain the Zerg player. It didn't work versus Savior. Again, I think a large problem with that was because Savior got those early Mutalisks out. And we can see the difference here, because Yellow has put down those 3 Sunken straight away. Nada pressurizing him with those Marines. Nada not waiting for the medics, I think, to send those Marines out. And we saw very early Mutalisks from Savior, despite the fact that he went 3 hatch, and it'll be interesting to see whether Yrnc has done the same. I haven't seen a Spire go up for Yrnc, but he might have put one up, and I just have missed it. And Yrnc, oh my god, Yrnc's going to sneak into Nada's main with a handful of Zerglings, and he's actually managed to snipe off a single SCV, because Nada had moved that barracks out of the way to move his own Marines out. He left a little gap there, and Yrnc cleverly moving in and sniping, and Nada once again moving in. So the Spire is up. Spire is indeed up for Yrnc, so Yrnc's going to have Mutalisks out, and Nada, I haven't seen him put up any turrets. He has got an engineering bay up quite early, but he's going to need a few more turrets in order to be able to defend both his main and his natural expo from Mutalisk harass. So this is going to be the key point again. Can Yrnc be as effective as Savior was with his Mutalisk harass and keep Nada boxed in his base for a long time, allowing him to tech up and get that tech advantage and just overwhelm Nada with superior units?